Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. And I know clubs certainly around Australia and perhaps even the world would be interested to meet you and hear more of your story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And so I received a Rotary scholarship and came to Canberra. Through the University of Canberra, I did my graduate diploma in professional and technical writing. And so I was lucky enough to get on a plane, come to Australia and study for a year. And I can honestly tell you that when I left, I really didn't know much about Rotary. But my first impression of Rotary was the moment I got off the airplane, and a Rotarian by the name of John Carter from the Belconnen Rotary Club in Canberra met me at the airport. And from that moment, I felt immediately welcomed by the entire Rotary Club. I had families that lent me bedding and towels and linen for my flat at university. I had people that gave me posters and wall hangings and said, pick these out. You know, is there something that'll make it feel more like home for you? I had people inviting me to their homes for dinner with their families, and people inviting me on, Rotary events to do different things. And I just instantly felt the international friendship and hospitality that I'd heard about with Rotary, but I had never experienced.
I'm imagining you went back to the States and you linked up with the local Rotary Club there.
I kept telling myself I need to go to a Rotary Club meeting or find a Rotary Club, and life just kept happening. And the next thing I know, it's 10 years later. 10 years had passed, and I was having a conversation with a gentleman in my community where I live now. I had recently moved to this community, and a gentleman said to me, well, you were a scholar in Australia, weren't you? And I said, yes. And he says, through Rotary, right? And I said, yes. He says, would you like to come to Rotary with me next week? And I said, yes, I would. And I actually walked in and I told them, they didn't even ask me to become a member. I told them I was going to become a member. I said, where do I sign up? Because it instantly, that passion for Rotary was reignited through me. It wasn't that I didn't want to join. It wasn't that I didn't have the passion to join. It's just that simply life got in the way and no one asked me.
What lessons do you share with other people about your experience, and how's that relevant for local Rotary Club today?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I think that typically when I speak to a lot of clubs, I share that exact story to remind them to stay in touch with your Rotary alumni, whether it's youth exchange, the high school exchange level, whether it's your global scholars, like what I was, whether it's someone who does another kind of friendship exchange, or the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, a RILA event for students as well. Keep in touch with those individuals, like we call them our Rotary alumni, because they have a connection, and odds are their life was positively affected by Rotary. And sometimes it just takes that little bit to ask. And so I tell that story to remind people to keep in touch with their alumni, to make sure you ask, because sometimes we take that for granted. We may have a perception in our mind of what Rotary used to be, or what I will occasionally say, my grandfather's Rotary Club. And just because I have this visual of a lot of older gentlemen getting together for lunch, and that's what I thought of. But Rotary is really what we make it. And that's how we're going to stay relevant. And it's really about being community minded, being like-minded, wanting to do something for your community, whether it's your local community, whether it's a regional community, or whether it's an international community. That's really what Rotary is about, and how we do that is really up to us. Don't be afraid to try something. You know what? If it doesn't work, that's okay. We'll try something else. But it's okay to try. It's better to try to do something, even if we're not 100% certain it's going to make the impact or do what we want it to do, but we won't know unless we try. And that's the same way with membership and growing our membership. If you have an idea for a mix or a service project to invite people to learn about Rotary, just try it. It's okay. If it doesn't work, It doesn't work. And hey, if you get 5 people there, those 5 people might be 5 very committed individuals who will still help the greater cause. It's just, sometimes we set our expectations way out here, and if we don't meet those, we're disappointed. But as long as we're incrementally moving forward and doing good in our communities, I think that's really what we want to strive for.
What are the threats and opportunities of moving to a more online space for Rotary?
So I think, generally speaking, in the past, the attitude of Rotary is, we do best when we're together in person, and that's when we make our connections and friendships and all of those things. And that's really how we get inspired and the sparks are formed to do projects and the different things. But I think if there's one thing that COVID has taught us, it's that we can do things electronically and via Zoom. Now, yes, it's not the same as seeing a person in person, but we can bring together the internationality of our organization. I've seen clubs who, the general typical Rotary club probably doesn't have a lot of interaction on the international level with Rotary, unless you've done an exchange or you've done a friendship visit or something like that. And so what COVID has done is it's forced all of us to go into this Zoom world. And with this Zoom world, we can now have speakers from around the world. A couple Rotary International presidents ago, Holger Kanak, his entire term was during COVID. Something he was able to do, he was from Germany, he visited clubs in their online club meetings.
We have a new International Rotary President starting on July 1, whose name is Jennifer Jones, who I believe is a good friend of yours or a mentor to you in some way. Yes. What's your history with Jennifer?
So Jennifer, yes, she will be the first female president for all of Rotary International. And it's Jennifer, I got to know her quite a few years ago when I was a district governor. Shortly after I was a governor, she became a director. Jennifer has always taught me to think big, think outside the box, and not be afraid to try something. And so that's where you hear a lot of these messages. Many of them have come from her in a way. Mm-hmm. That's what she's taught me with Rotary, and that whole, we're like-minded. It's just, yes. How do we figure out then how to make the best impact? And so I am super excited that yes. Jennifer will be leading our organization starting July 1st. And, yes. And if you ever have the opportunity to meet her, she is a fireball. She's dynamic and will be a great advocate for our organization around the world.
Yeah, well, we're all looking forward to the appointment of Jennifer Jones, and it will be, as you say, great for me to meet her at some point, either online. Maybe she'll come on. We can have a little Zoom chat for the benefit of Rotary clubs around the world. And it's also been wonderful meeting you, Kathy. Thank you so much for coming on. As I say, I'm new to Rotary, so I'm learning so much. The questions I ask, I'm asking because I'm genuinely interested in how things work, the challenges that we face, how we can go forward in a positive way. So I'm learning a lot. Thank you for educating me, and thank you for coming on and being a part of this podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and go Rotary.